Hey there, everybody out there in Twitter land, YouTube land, wherever it is you're catching up with us. Ginger here with another episode of Fighting the Void. And today we've got, I would say, a little bit of a Twitter legend with us.
Wow.
But yes, I think that's fair to say. I've seen some of your guest list.
That's true. Crystal is here with us. So, yes, we do have a
Crystal is
legend with us.
Don't try to put me, sir.
Well, it's...
Mr.
And as any viewers can tell, my lovely co-host Crystal actually already knows Stan. She has been on Stan's show thrice?
No, I think it's once, right?
I think just once. Yeah.
Oh, is it just once? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Stan's show is Sit Downs with Stan, and I don't know the full guest list, but I know it includes Lauren Chen, who you might also better know as a roaming millennial, who has perhaps had the most meteoric rise in social media that I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I think she first came on the scene about 3 years ago, and now has her own show and everything, and it's like, oh wow, see, dreams do come true. And Stan can perhaps take some credit in helping make that happen. So, so some little piece of credit for helping.
Well, yeah, I like to give some of those little up and comers a little bit of a shot in the arm and a boost. I've had Matt Christensen on as well, and I like to, help out the little guy. That's what
right.
I'm all about.
That's right. Little guys like Matt Christensen and Blonde.
And Lauren Chen and Blonde. Yes, I've had Blonde on as well. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Which incidentally, I think we're all three not watching that live stream right now because this happens to be at the same time.
Yeah.
It gives me something to listen to while I'm working tomorrow.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I almost never listen to live streams because I always turn it on like 2 times speed.
Oh, okay.
After the fact. So then I listen to it in an hour.
Yes.
I think Stan, I think you've had another Twitter legend. Haven't you had Dan Sutherland too?
Oh yeah, I've had him like 3 times on. Yeah.
Who was that?
Oh, and I've had Shane and Nico as well.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. Dan Sutherland.
Mr. Sutherland has been on 3 times. We've talked mostly about. I enjoyed having him on to talk about Marvel movies. He does I'm gonna butcher the name. Talosive Reviews, I believe, is the other channel that he works with, where they do a lot of stuff on movies. So I've had him on to bitch about some Marvel movies. So kind of some of the SJW leanings that they've had in some of their movies.
That's been coming up more recently. So I definitely think we'll probably come back to that because we're just gonna kind of take this podcast just to, I don't know, get to know Stan a little bit.
Sure.
Because Stan is always spending time getting to know everybody else. Who takes the time to get to know Stan?
Yeah, well, he's not an overly exciting person, but I will do.
Oh, please! don't do that to us, Stan. To Claus.
Stan, did you? No. Did you just do that?
Stan. Oh, believe me, I get called Santa Claus all the time. One of the most actually, the other thing I get called. I mean, not necessarily called, but a lot of times I've had in the past where people, when they're typing quickly to spell my name, they sometimes accidentally hit the A next to the S, so my name comes out Satan.
Crystal knows how that feels.
I know that feels.
But they're usually saying it intentionally.
Well, hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, I hope.
You hope so. Otherwise, it's some sort of blasphemy or something, and you have to smite.
But yes, I actually even recently, a couple of months ago, I was eating at a pizza joint, and I'm just sitting there, and I look over across my booth, and peering underneath, between the booth, is this little girl, and she's just smiling at me. And I smile at her, and she just, darts away, and I'm like, she thinks I'm Santa Claus.
Yes, she does.
She's like, Santa Claus lives. But I'm just like,
and he likes pizza.
Yeah, and he likes pizza. Yeah.
So we have to ask, of course, an age-old question: Chicago or New York pizza?
New York. Gotta fold. You gotta have the fold.
You know, I'll be honest. I've never actually had New York style pizza.
Same here.
I just haven't. I mean, I've had thin crust, but I don't think it's the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's not. No, because I mean, it is a thin crust, but it's not crunchy. You know,
right?
It's these huge slices that you can fold. So yeah, the deep dish is fine, but that's almost like lasagna with a crust. You know.
I haven't had New York style pizza either, but I am not big on the Chicago style because I'm more of a thin crust kind of gal.
Yeah. It's I mean it's I mean obviously it's a little, you know, it's what I grew up with, but even up here, but yeah, it's the thin. Yeah, it's always the thin.
You know, if I'm ever in that area of the country again, I'm just gonna have to go ahead and try it.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I mean, just look for any place with an Italian sounding name, Tony's, Nick's, you know, Amato's, you know, just you're gonna find, you know, they'll have a New York style pizza, and you can just go in and get a slice or two, and that's you know, so then you can just, and you're usually like literally like, I mean, 2 slices is generally all you.
Right, you can staple a couple of them to your arms and glide away if you jump.
Yeah, they're huge. It's usually huge pieces. Yeah.
You know, I find it funny that I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but they're trying to make Detroit style pizza a thing.
What?
Yeah, I've noticed this. It's come up within the last. I've started noticing it within the last year or so, and all it is it's a rectangle. It's kind of a deeper dish. The idea, and I don't know if there's any historical legitimacy to this or not, but the idea is that it's, you know, pizza that you would have made in like the oil pan of a car. You know, just like you use an oil, because you know Detroit, of course, Motor City and everything. So you use an oil pan that you would like cook the pizza in, or presumably unused. And,
well, you would hope.
Yeah.
Is this Detroit's like last shot at having something good to put to their name? Because
I think so, because the Red Wings aren't any good anymore. So
you know what this is the Detroit style pizza. This is Little Caesars.
Exactly.
It's little. I just looked it up. It's Little Caesars.
Yep.
We have something up. We a lot of it around here. We have their sheet pizzas.
Yep. Yeah. I said I find it funny that. Oh, Stan froze.
Oh no.
Oh, Santa Claus has gone to the North Pole and he's frozen.
No, he was probably giving that little girl from the restaurant a quick present.
I think you're probably right. I think he's probably just making sure she's okay and checking on his elves, making sure that she gets what she needs there. And okay, there he is.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
I'm frozen. We were just theorizing on exactly why it was you frozen. We figured it involved the North Pole and elves.
Oh no! I mean, Skype just disconnected.
Oh sure, or Skype. Yeah. Like, come on, Skype, sir. I'm sorry. Skype is the most perfect program that has ever been invented.
Oh sure.
By Bill Gates' consortium of techno wizards up there in the Northwest.
Yes.
It's the greatest program. It is the best.
Yes, that's right. I'm just wondering if the Skype gods are hearing.
Oh yeah.
Praise be the Skype god.
Well, you know, they don't like it when, you know, 3 people that don't agree with the, you know, groupthink are actually having a fun, interesting conversation that doesn't involve being hateful. You know,
right? Oh, don't worry, we'll get.
we're having fun conversations, but I think I was saying we have these things up here called sheet pizzas or giant rectangles and squares, and they get cut into little other squares. It's like that, but not as thick. So they're not inventing anything new.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking when I first started seeing it. I'm like, one, why have I never heard of this? Having lived in Michigan pretty much my entire life, and 2, Little Caesars has been doing this for years, and nobody called it Detroit pizza at all.
It's just a deep dish pizza. Heck, they I forget, like DiGiorno's even does one of those thick deep dishes too.
Yeah.
You know, frozen. So it's they're not going to take that one over. There's no way.
No, I don't think so. I don't think this is going to be the trinity of pizzas.
No, absolutely not.
But
it's Little Caesars. I just looked at it too. Like,
All it is.
bruh.
Little Caesars.
It's
Yeah,
toys.
exactly.
It's like, come on now.
So
Yeah.
So Stan, I'm curious, what prompted you to first start doing sit downs with Stan?
Well, it originally started. I started with my other part, regular guy rants, where I'm just like, okay, there's something. People will disagree, and you probably both will. I am not an overly, just let me say the words, not a really educated guy. And what I mean by that is when people talk about all these, I'm part of this political spectrum or part of this, mindset or all of these things. None of that means anything to me. I know the words now and what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
None of it means anything. I'm 52 years old, so I'm just shy of boomer age, just a little bit under the boomer age. And I started out with the rants because I'm like, look, I see something happening, and again, it's this, and I've said this to Matt and Rebecca and Lauren. I'm like, you're all so smart. Sometimes I feel stupid when I listen to you because you're talking about like deep things with this. And I'm just like, there's a lot of people out there like me where I'm like,
right.
I just need to lay it out like you hear people at a bar talking about shit.
Yep.
So that's what I started with. And then I thought, I just asked a couple people if they wanted to come and sit and chat. The sit down with Stan, I've tried to kind of sway away from political stuff, and because I like people that are viewing that, whether they're friends, and of course, we all get, people that are negative about things. I want people to see it's like Lauren, like she's writing a book. She loves movie reviews. She loves Dr. Phil. Blonde does art. Matt has, wants to find out if Bigfoot exists. Like, I like to talk to people to say, look, we're regular people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have opinions you might not agree with, but look at some of the other stuff that we are into, that we think, and you might see we're not the evil people that, in fact, if we're not talking politics, you might like us.
Right.
So, and plus to me with the political stuff, like with a lot of people I talk to, like that's what people ask them to come on and talk about. Like that's what they want to talk. They want to talk about, some stupid ad, the latest SJW ad, or abortion or immigration. And I'm like, they got to be tired of talking about this stuff. Mm-hmm. So let's talk something else. And each time, and even Crystal's like when we talked nothing. We talked about our book. We talked nothing about political, Twitter, none of that garbage. And it really kind of, people have asked me, like, Stan, how are you so relaxed with people? Because they're relaxed because they're just talking about stuff they like, stuff that's fun to them. Mm-hmm. And I always ask, one of the things I ask them, like, so tell me something supernatural you believe in. Do you believe in UFOs? Do you believe in this? Do you believe in that? Maybe have you seen one? And it's always like, oh, and it's more of just a fun, lighthearted conversation. As you can clearly see, I have no problems chatting with people. I don't know what, like everyone, Crystal, you think you were bad when we first started? Holy crow. If I had to talk in front of one person, I would be like, nope, gonna pass out. And then I don't know what happened. Then I'm just like, oh, whatever. I'll talk to anybody. I don't care.
Yeah.
So it's just, so it did start as me venting about current events, but then when I was able to, get some people to come out and talk to me, I'm like, I want to talk to this person. We talked on the pre-show about, some of the, online friendships and how they're quote unquote not real. It's like, well, I want to make them real. I want to know if I have someone on, I want to talk to them. I want to get to know them. And it's always a fun conversation.
Yep.
Frankly.
Oh yeah. I mean, I try to whenever I'm traveling, I try to make it a point to see if there's any Twitter people in the area that I'm going.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, if we can make it work, we're gonna hang out, and hopefully Crystal and I will get to hang out here later on in the winter, which would be freaking awesome.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Sin and May are down in Kentucky, and I mean, if I get down to see my family in Tennessee, I am convinced they will kill me if I don't find a way to come visit them. And over there.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I have met Lauren in person. I was actually supposed to go to an event this coming week that she's having, but
is she at the are you talking about that Mines
yeah,
thing?
I ended up
Tim Pool and everybody?
Yeah, I ended up backing out of that. Just the venue has been getting threats.
Yeah.
From Antifa. Yeah. And then, that part I'm like, and Lauren did, she has complete faith in these people, and I'm sure they're very well, but it's not just that, but so close to Philadelphia, and I'm not like with what just happened, and I'm not even talking about the shooter. I'm talking about how the people's disrespect and just not caring about police. Yeah. Those are the people I'm more worried about.
Yeah.
Where they have no fear of any repercussions. Like I don't, and so, and like I said, Lauren is, she's very convinced, but in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, to play devil's advocate, yes, Lauren, they're going to make sure you're taken care of. You're the guest. You and the guests have to be priority.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but all us attendees, I hate
you're kind of pardon the pun, but you're the red shirt.
Yeah, and it's like, and especially the amount of money. I'm like, I want to see Lauren, and then she's, she and I are arranging to meet elsewhere and hang out, But so yeah, I've met her. I'm actually hoping one day to go to take a trip out to meet Matt. I'd love to hang out with Matt.
Oh, I think Matt would be super fun to
Matt's such a laid back guy. I'd like to meet, Blonde. I mean, anyone but unfortunately, if you know where I live, I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Even getting to an airport's a chore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was for a while we were trying to put together like a gathering at Josie, right? TRLH.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've had her on the show.
Yeah, she's up in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So a bunch of us, but then, Twitter drama and stuff happens. But Josie was actually thinking about going to the Mines thing, but then her daughter got sick, and I'm like, I'm not going to bug her about that because that's like got to be, that's on the line. But she and I were even talking. It's like, hey, if we go, it'd be kind of nice to hang out. So it's like, so yeah, I mean, there have been people I've been, like you said, it's, I hate almost to say it, but it's almost like where we've pre-screened each other. You pre-screen it. It's like, because I can talk to anybody, like I said, movies and stuff. The problem that you generally have when you're meeting, where arguments start is generally going to be religion or politics. Mm-hmm. And even if I disagree with people politically, at least the people that I interact with, we can disagree respectfully. It's not going to be. I mean, honestly, some of the friends I told you again in the pre-show that I met 10 plus years ago on an MMO. By the way, do you know what MMOs are?
Yes.
Massive. Yeah. And through text chat, by the way, we didn't even have voice. Like we were
back in the
and
day.
They ended up helping move. Like they're all hardcore. Like they live in Massachusetts and are hardcore Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And we're friends. We would do anything for each other. We can agree to disagree. I actually remember before, like right after Trump got elected, I was hanging out with one of them, and he was, kind of going on about it. And I'm like, so Scott, tell me, what is your expectation here of Trump? Do you really think he's going to bring an end to the world? He looked me dead in the eye and said, yes. So I looked back. I mean, so what you're telling me is if the world doesn't end, you'll say he did a good job. Didn't have anything to say, and he switched the subject. I'm like, well, if that's your bar, if your bar is end of the world, then you have to love him right now because the world is not ended at even close, you know. But
Yeah.
so
You still got a year and a half to try, though.
well, yeah. But so yeah. So that's the sit down with Stan came from, like I said, just wanting to, just wanting to talk to the person, not like you said, talk to Lauren Chen, not roaming millennial. At the time we talked, she hadn't come out, as it were, to talk to Matt Christensen, the man, to talk to Rebecca, not blonde, to talk to the people. I find that just more fun. It's just because we can bitch about political stuff all day long, but I'm not learning any, and no one is learning anything about these people, and that's what my intent is.
Yeah, and honestly, I totally understand where you're coming from because are so many people doing so many like straight up political podcasts that and doing it well, better than I could, and those are people like Matt and Lauren.
Oh yeah.
And
the research they do, I'm like, I don't have the patience. Just the amount of
time too, and
the amount of exactly. I agree.
So it's like unless there's a specific issue where it's like I know I can really add something to it, or unless it's just this is fun. Let's just go off on this one for a little bit. We usually don't get into too much straight up politics here, as a rule. It's usually more like a specific subject. Like we've had Faith Moore on, talking about history, talking about Henry VIII in particular. We've had lots of people on about all kinds of different subjects. Whether we've done a few things just on movies as well. And again, it's really just people are doing the political stuff already on a lot of it and doing it well. Mm-hmm. And so unless there's something we can directly add, it's like, yeah, let's talk about something else, something more interesting that other people don't get into. Right. And there are a lot of things that there's certainly overlap with politics because every now and then something will come up. I'm like, wait a minute, no. You're totally either misrepresenting this or you're leaving that out, and it just happens to be something that I do know about,
right?
That is getting totally missed in the conversation, and then it's like, okay, it's worth commenting on.
Yeah, that's what a couple of my, and then we also think not only the people we know, but then you've got Shapiro, Crowder,
right?
All those shows. It's like, and most of the time, if you don't get something out within 24 hours. It's old news, Most of the time, by the time I would get to something, it's like a week old when we've gone on to the next grand offense.
Yeah, yeah, like those of us that had day jobs and everything before we decided to start doing this.
Yeah, for fun.
Yeah, and Ginger and I definitely do share your mindset because even. So we do have guests on to talk about political things and whatnot. Like we had Josie on to talk about libertarianism and whatnot. But even then, we still like to throw in questions just to kind of like break it up and kind of like relax a little bit. Because when you just focus so much on politics, you get so burned out from it because it's such it's something that's so stressful and it gets everyone so heated that it drains you so much.
It's true. It's why I actually, I do, interact, as much as I do, still on Twitter, but I'm trying to back away from a lot of that political stuff because, honestly, 99% of it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It does not matter. I was driving around yesterday and I'm thinking all these people screaming and whining. I'm like, please tell me, how has your life changed in the last 3 years? How has your life changed?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, it hasn't. Like none of our lives. These people, none of their lives have changed. And it's just like, I'm sitting there getting upset because some random person over here said this thing. I'm like, they don't matter. We're not going to be friends. I'm getting in a fight with this person.
Right.
I'm getting called transphobic because I don't believe a 3-year-old should be able to decide if they can transition. I'm like, you people don't matter to my life. I'm like, and it's not like I'm blocking. I'm just like, just scrolling by. I'm like, this will be gone in less than 36 hours, and they'll all be mad about something else. I'm like, I'm
Yes.
gonna look for the puppy videos and the fun stuff, and and you both have been part of it. I'm trying to remember every morning, just say good morning and appreciate people and friends I interact with, and I'm like thinking, and it puts me in a good, like, it makes me happy to start off doing that for in the day. And it's like, and I've gotten a lot of people like, thank you. They're like, that's really nice. I'm like, there is niceness in the world. There's actually more niceness. It's actually a lot of times that when I've worked in restaurants and when I worked in a phone center and I'm supervising, I'd have a rep come up to me and be like, Stan, man, this was a rough day. I'm like, really? What happened? Oh, this guy was yelling and screaming. I'm like, how many calls you take today? Oh, like 95. And you had one bad one? Well, yeah. I'm like, that means you had 94 good ones. Well, yeah. Literally 99% of your day was great. But we got to focus on that one bad thing. I mean, Ginger, you tell a woman once her hair looks odd, she's going to hang on to that for the rest.
Forever.
You could tell, if you can tell a woman she looks beautiful, you're lying. If she doesn't think it, you are lying. If she does not, if you do give her an honest opinion, like, how's this dress look? I'm like, well, I'll just go sleep on the couch. I'll just go over here. I'm just going to go over here because you didn't want you don't want an honest answer out of me, But and then she'll hang on. But it's like, but I've been nice and complimentary to you for 99% of our lives. But the 2 times I wasn't, like, that's what we're going to lie. But it's human nature, and I'm trying in my own brain to break myself of that nature where I'm like, no. I'm like, yeah, I see something that's stupid, I might respond here and there. But for the most part, like, I'll just share photos of my dog and just fun stuff. But
I think that's really important to do, especially on social media, because it can be such a negative space, and it's so easy to be negative on it, and it's
very true.
I know I've taken steps to more so, like, make sure, like, I try to put out more positivity, and it's like, if something's really bugging me or whatnot, then I'll, like, say something. But it's like, for the most part, it's like, man, we should, like, keep this to be, like, a good time, like, interacting with people, because, like, we have enough stress in our day-to-day lives. We don't want this to also be a source of stress, and it's like, I kind of become more using, like, the muting and the blocking and whatnot, but I'm still not, like, too crazy with it. But it's like, it's so important to, like, put out positivity and make sure you surround yourself in positivity as well, because it's so easy to latch on to the negative stuff. Like, I know Lucas has had to kind of be like, Crystal, really? Because I've had days where because I've just been kind of bleh lately, but it's like, I get some days where I'm like, oh, I'm having such a rough day, and I'm, like, being moody and cranky and whatnot, and he's like, well, how's it rough? And I'm like, well, I spilled this, and he's like, okay, and what else? And I had this. Okay, is that it? That you're calling off the day, not even midway through, just because of those 2 things, really, Crystal, and it's kind of got me to be like, oh shoot, you're right.
Yeah, it is. It's human nature to go to hang on to that negative, And honestly, if we look around, we have more positives that go on in our day by far than negatives, and we need to look at that.
Yep, absolutely. And so I think social media exacerbates that, like, just massively. I don't even mean just. I don't even mean just it tends to bring out the worst people. I mean, you do see people on social media just complaining about a lot of stuff, and it does. I think it does train you to look at things in a exaggerated light.
Absolutely.
To where it's like, yeah, you know what? You spilled like you just said, Crystal. You had a couple of minor things in the day, but I think in part because we're so trained now by social media to see things negatively and blow it up. It's like, yeah, in a relative sense, that is a lot, but it's only because of how we're getting negatively trained by everybody complaining about whatever on Twitter. Like, honestly, I see a lot of people and I see a lot of the complaining. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
It can't possibly be that bad. If you've got the time to spend this much time on here, it can't be that terrible.
It reminds me of when I was working in restaurants, and I used to always think when, as a manager, someone would be like just laying into me, and I'd replace it, and I'm like thinking that person just literally just ripped me apart because their French fries were cold. I'm like, I want your life. Like, if your cold fries are the biggest problem in your days, let's switch. Like, let's switch lives, because you are a blessed person if that's the worst thing that happened in your day.
And and I'd actually be curious to get your guys' thoughts on this, because Lucas and I have talked about this with a friend of us before, and it's almost seems like we're almost in a, whether it's just an internet, I think it's more so just an internet culture, where like in this stage of an internet culture where it's the relatable thing to be negative. It's almost like it's a, I don't want to say it's a trend, because a lot of people do sincerely, deal with depression and whatnot and struggles and whatnot, but it almost seems like, if you think about, most of the relatable things you see are people talking about how they're having a shitty day or they're in a shitty mood. Like, oh, hey, I just remember something embarrassing I did 5 years ago pop in my head today, and now I can't sleep. Like that's like the relatable thing nowadays, and it's like it's almost like it's kind of, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who meanwhile and they truly want to get better, but it almost seems like it's a trend of like to be in a negative state of mind and to just be there, like not really get out of it. And again, I'm not saying everyone's like that. I know many people who struggle with like depression or anxiety and whatnot, and they're really truly working to get out of it. It seems to be almost a trend of like, hey, this is a negative thing, I'm relating to you, yay.
Right. Well, that's actually, I mean, you're correct in the observation, but it's not a new thing. If you think about, and Ginger there knows this probably, as news has always been, negative. And when do they talk about the good stories? The last 30 seconds before they finish the thing.
Right.
Or in newspapers.
Daytime or something, yeah.
Yeah. What's newspapers? What's or on Sunday when no one's watching it, when they have the good stories.
Right.
And newspapers. Where's the good stories? Well, about 19 pages back. Mm-hmm. Now every person has the platform to express the negativity.
It's
negativity
the same thing, it's
sells.
just exaggerated.
Yes, it's very exaggerated, and it's sad. But what is generally the most things that blow up? Yeah, you'll see occasionally like a cute puppy video, but it's someone slamming someone. That's what blows up and gets the most hits.
Cancel culture.
So so yes, you're right, because now everyone has a platform, everyone has a microphone through their smartphones,
Mm-hmm.
but that mindset, it's, even before, TV, people be gathered together and they're whispering. What are they talking? They're talking shit
Called
about,
gossip.
just
Yeah.
gossiping shit about people.
Yeah.
Now people can gossip on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's human nature. That's, the even with like the president, you'll always see when he's got like something negative to say, or some major thing. What doesn't make it? Well, except for with this president, because they look into every word he says. But when they're doing, giving out medals to military people, they're doing
Mhm.
something with, indigenous people. They're doing the nice things. We
Yep.
don't give a shit about that. That does, that
Yep.
you don't see that. That's mostly what vice presidents do. Like, they do all that. You never see the vice presidents making news because they're doing all these little positive things.
Yep.
Trump goes and visits wounded people in the hospitals, and they're just looking for what 3-second thing that he said that was, they're trying to,
That pissed him off. Yeah.
and so that's, you're absolutely correct in the observation, Crystal. It's unfortunately not new. It's
Yeah.
it's been
It's just
there.
ramped up and kicked into overdrive.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because people want to get they want that internet fame.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. As as the good book says, there ain't nothing new under the sun.
Yep. And being an a-hole is going to make you more famous than being kind.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
it's just a fact of social media.
Yep. Yep. Unfortunate though it be. Now, speaking of good things, how did you two get to know each other? Because I don't actually know this story.
I don't even know the story. She seemed really excited. She
She's
seems to
very
know.
excited. She
I
like
was going
jumped
to say,
up. That doesn't happen very
I
often.
just jumped in these circles, but I really don't know. So, Crystal, go ahead.
Well, we pretty much met through Matt Christensen because we were both fans of his live streams.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met on
I didn't even remember how we first started interacting.
I think we just started interacting on like his threads and whatnot, and we just like started talking from there on.
Were you ever on his Hangouts?
I kept trying to, but I never made the roll call except for one time, which I couldn't get my computer to
No,
work.
not the call-in show, like his patron Hangouts.
Not the Patreon hangouts, but I was part of the fantasy football hangout.
No.
Oh
Yeah,
my-
it definitely had. A lot of the people I've met, were. It was actually kind of. I've actually told Matt this. I said, it's honestly, I said, your fault that I've gotten into this realm as much as I have.
Yeah,
Because I remember
same here.
I was one day I was just looking, and it was during I believe the Ferguson riots, and I wanted to get some actual facts about what was really going on there, because it was always being, it's mostly
Fun this way and that. Yeah.
mostly peaceful, and I came across Matt, and he had a lot of perfect facts. He was very matter of fact and very. So I went down the Matt Christensen rabbit hole.
Oh
And
yeah.
I just watched hours and hours of Matt's videos, like back like 7 months, where I'm like, now I'm getting mad about stuff that happened 7 months ago,
Yeah.
and then that led me to Blonde, and then that led me to Roaming, and then getting in those circles.
Hmm.
So yeah, Crystal was a fellow Mattitude follower, and
Yeah.
that's I mean that's and then somehow I ended up in the libertarian circle, and then that brings on and I think a lot of then I met a lot of people through following Matt and interacting with him and being a mod on his channel and being on his hangouts, and then that led me to Lauren and being part of her Patreon and her hangouts, and then that led me to other people where it was just seeing people that also followed him and just seeing the interactions that they had. So yeah, then Crystal was. I mean, we just became friends.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me, though, you bringing up the hangouts. I don't know if I ever told you the story of like the fantasy football hangout. I made a fool of myself because I'm not into football. I don't know fantasy football. I just joined it because oh hey, Matt Christensen, this should be fun to do. And I can't even remember where I placed. I want to say I placed third, and like the
Probably.
fantasy. I want to say third. Yeah, I placed someplace higher than I probably should have, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I made a complete fool of myself during the hangout because I finally joined it and whatnot, and that hangout was you know Michael
Schlecht?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he helped host the hangout because he was there too, and the hangout was all of us picking our players for the fantasy football and whatnot, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, people are gonna be wanting to go for the best of the best as soon as possible, so I should do the same, right? So I picked the number one kicker.
I was gonna say she went for the person that had the most points. She picked a kicker. I know exactly where I'm like I can know exactly where this is going. I'm like they always have the most points, and she picked a kicker.
So the first person I picked was that one, and Matt Christensen. The first thing he says to me is, "Crystal, are you trolling? Are you trolling us?" And I'm like, "No."
No, I want a kicker.
And then he's like, "You don't pick the best right off the bat." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Especially not the best kicker. That doesn't surprise me in the least.
But it was fun. It's a memorable first.
Absolutely.
Hey, I wouldn't know either. I've literally never done a fantasy football thing in my life.
Yeah. I used to do research for weeks on end, and that was another thing. I'm like, I used to find myself getting so physically angry, just when and just not only with the fantasy, but when my team would lose, I'm like, what are you doing? This doesn't matter. Why are you getting so upset over people throwing a ball around? Get off of this.
Yep.
So yeah, I participate casually, but I don't. I don't. I know not to pick a kicker first, but
sometimes you just have to learn firsthand not to.
It's true.
On a more positive
note,
you
finished third, so clearly you did something.
Clearly did something right, whether you knew it or not.
Yeah, I remember because I have a writing friend, Haley, who's into football, and I remember I told her a little bit of oh, I'm doing this thing. I think I told her or someone about it. I want to say I mentioned it to her, but on a more positive Matt Christensen story, instead of me embarrassing myself. No, I wasn't ever part of the Hangouts, but I did email him frequently, and it's
that's right. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I really liked doing that because I didn't always agree on him with stuff, and it's it kind of got me thinking. It's I kind of do that in the emails, kind of ask his thoughts on it and whatnot, and he was really good about responding back up.
He's great about that.
But I remember the first time I emailed him because it's this was around earlier when I first started watching him. I'm like, he probably won't get back to me. I'll just email him, tell him and I remember being so happy when I saw that he responded because that was also the same day that I was going into because in high school I took a journalism class and I had to go interview one of the commissioners where I live. And I was so nervous, waiting in the parking lot. As I'm waiting in the parking lot, I get a response back from Matt Christensen, and it got me more pumped for my interview with the commissioner. I was like, yeah. I was like, Mom, look about.
Yeah. Matt's really good about responding. He really is. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he really seems to be. I mean, I emailed him with just a technical question a while back, and he responded pretty quickly. I was like, huh.
Yeah, yeah. He's. I mean, I've had individual hangouts with him. I've had group hangouts with him. Um, I've emailed with him back and forth. Yeah, he's a very, and especially like you said technical question. I'm like I've had questions like when I was first starting. I'm like, what's like, how do I record a video? Like, and
Right.
he sent me like, here's the program I use for audio editing. Here's a web, here's a video that the guy put out to use. Like, he's like, he'll help anybody with anything,
Which
so
is awesome. It's
yeah,
rare to find.
I mean, it is weird, and it's, I mean, it's, I'm not, but I could conceivably be competition, but to him, he knows, he's like, even if I'm quote unquote competition, he knows that I'm coming from a place, having spoken to me and knowing me, that I want to be honest and give,
Right.
it's not going to be another in the long line of, towing the CNN MSNBC line. So
Ugh.
now Matt's fantastic, and
Yeah.
and Lauren too. Like, I've had some hangouts with her, and I've had time, and she and I have had some hour-plus long conversations. I know you two were talking, about, because religion is one of those topics.
Yep.
I used to be an altar boy when I was young, Roman Catholic. I am not very religious anymore, and I wanted to, ask her some, talk to her about that, and we had a nice long conversation about it, because my logical brain's like thinking, well, how this and how that, and from a young person's perspective, I wanted to be like, I wanted, and in going to church when I was young, it was not optional for me. I
Right.
had to go. And when you're forced to do something, and then when you can finally not, you kind of steer away from it.
That's not uncommon. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my sister and she has kids, and she's trying to go back because she wants her kids to have that, because it's not. And while I am, I forget which one it is, agnostic or atheist. I think agnostic is the just you have doubts or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I you will never ever hear me mock someone for having beliefs. I'm like, because that is the I'm like, now you're not now you're not atheist or agnostic, you're an asshole. If you're gonna mock someone, because there are so many people in this world that do believe, you can't be the only smart one, the only intelligent one. Okay, they have beliefs, and it gives them, and I have plenty of family, it gives them happiness, it gives them peace. Who am I to question it? If that gives you joy, embrace your joy. I have questions, I have doubts, but I'm not going to ever question anyone else and make fun of that type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people forget. Is that it's a source of a sort of comfort and peace for a lot of people. Like it and that's like with anything, with any like when it comes like religion and philosophy. When like sometimes people believe in what they believe in because it helps them handle the world better. Like take for example, I can't remember the video of his. It was a Chris Reagan video, I think it was, where he talked about how he doesn't believe in the phrase of or the mentality of everything happens for a reason, because when something horrible happened to a family member of his, like I think a family member passed away or something, all he was told while he was mourning was everything happens for a reason, and it didn't help him in that, so now he doesn't really like that. While in my case, I need to think about how, okay, everything happens for a reason, because for me, if I don't think about that, I'm much more depressed than I would be if I keep that in mind, because it helps me
Context is important.
Yeah.
If there was if I had a good friend who, like, they just had a family member, die horribly or something like that, the first words out of my mouth are not going to be "everything happens for a reason."
Yeah. Yeah. You need to
Yeah.
I
pick
would
and
expect to
choose.
get punched if I said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I mean
Because
that's one of the
whether or
things,
not it's true,
yeah, I mean
yeah.
that's one of the main thing, that particular situation is
Yeah.
something that where Laura and I talked about at length, where I'm like, I understand, happened for a reason, or there's a plan. I'm like, but what could a 1 year old have done, that requires the pain that some of them went through. That's where my logic brain kicks in. It's like, yeah, that just doesn't make sense. So
that right there, that gets into, we could get into a whole
oh, I
long
know we could.
discussion
I didn't mean to go into that.
about free will and how all of that figures into
And that's
things.
another
And
thing. That's what people tell me. I'm like,
yeah,
free
I love
will,
it.
and I'm like, hold on, let's talk free will. Because I like, yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, again, completely respectfully, but I'm like, I have some questions.
And one of the things, I'm actually very religious, but one of the things that I know my fellow religious types are often guilty of is not sitting and listening and taking people's questions seriously,
Yes.
and trying to dismiss them merely with platitudes. And it's like, no, you can't do that.
No, because we're just going to shut down. And that was
Exactly.
great about Lauren. She listened, and she, like, very deep. And see, that's actually honestly some where I can't necessarily talk about it with, like, my mom and my stepdad, because they almost just give me that platitudish smile,
Right.
where it's like, well, how could you not look around and think this stuff? I'm like thinking, well, I'm like, and then I'm thinking, Mom, I'm like, you literally are one of those women who, as soon as you leave church and go out to breakfast, you're a bitch to the waitress. I'm like, you literally forgot everything you were just talking about and singing and all this stuff, and then you're just snotty to everybody. I'm like, don't talk to me about what
Right.
I need to take away from these
Yep.
things. That's again, that's a church thing for forever. My stepfather that's not him. But, when I talk to him, he, you can tell he's listening, but you can tell it's just like, there's, whatever he's going to tell me, it's like, he's not talking to me, he's talking at me. And it's like, well,
right.
We're just not going to talk about it. So, and that's fine. They don't push. They've, occasionally be like, well, we really like, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm like, okay. I mean, if I had kids, I might, I would give them the option. I don't know that I would, but yeah, I mean, it's one of the things it's just that does just roll around in my head where I see both sides of it, and my brain doesn't go more to one side than the other anymore.
I myself have been on both sides of it. So yeah, I can kind of relate to where you're at. And yeah, I hate a lot of the platitude answers that people give. Yeah. And, there is a sense in which, I do think, yeah, there's truth to them, but there is also a sense that we frankly have to admit that it's not necessarily satisfying. It's not the answer you're looking for. And sometimes I find myself, I have to have the humility to just be like, I don't really know how that works.
Yeah.
I don't.
And it's one of those subjects, much like politics or economics. There are, like, Ben Shapiro is honestly, he is a cyborg. Like, I am convinced you lift up his little thing. He's got a USB port that he just plugs in, and it just feeds him all the data for the day. Lauren, there are so many smart people on both sides of it. For anyone on either side to just dismiss like you say, platitudes, or be like, how could anyone intelligent believe in this stuff? It's like there are tens, hundreds of thousands of very intelligent people that believe this. So it's not an intellectual thing,
Yeah.
So, and like you said, once you start giving people platitudes, done, shut off.
Or even just like Dawkins is he's one of the things he famously said was I think it was him, or it was either him or Hitchens, kind of said that became an atheist when he asked his priest. It was Dawkins. He was asking his Anglican priest some question or another, and the response was essentially, good boys don't ask those questions. It's like, yeah, well, you just lost that one, you moron.
Well, that's exactly. I'm like, if your answer is you're wrong for asking that question,
yeah,
well, that tells me that you don't have as much faith in whatever answer for that person.
Yeah.
Like I said, Lauren and
he explained.
Lauren and I talked for a couple of hours about it, and we're still wonderful friends,
Yep.
So there was never any contention. She knew it was coming from a good place of just me trying to understand someone who had a choice in whether or not she had faith from someone that didn't have a choice and was forced into believing. Although I did like being an altar boy. It was the cool, like all the cool guys did it. It was really. I mean, the area I live in, if you weren't Catholic when I was growing up, then you just weren't in.
Literally the exact opposite of where I grew up.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I where I live, it's a very Calvinist area.
Okay.
So you could go to any number of churches, but they're all essentially Calvinist.
Yeah. No. Here it's.
So
here it's every half
here,
mile there's a Roman Catholic church.
Oh yeah. See, Catholics in my neck of the woods were like, "What is what now?"
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. For
you're one
us,
of those.
For us, that was the Baptists. If you were a Baptist, you'd be like, "Oh, you go to
you exist.
You go to that church. All right, sorry, you're over there." It was all the. So yeah.
Where I am now, I surprisingly have a bunch of different churches where I am. I not only have multiple different types of Christian and Catholic denomination churches around me, but there's also a Islamic. I can't think of the word for it, but there's an Islamic building for it too. Yeah.
Mosque, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I have like all these different areas around me.
Yeah, we've got a lot more of the we still have a lot of the Catholic, but a lot more of the New Age are popping up. Where they essentially it's a little concert. That's what my mother and stepfather go to.
Yeah.
I remember the one time that my mother. It was actually funny. My mom finally. It was years ago. She finally convinced me to go, and I'm like, all right, I'll sit in and see what it's all about. And they had a guest speaker. And it was a Roman Catholic priest, and he was pounding the podium, literally like just went all fire and brimstone. And she looked at me. I'm like, I'm out. I'm like, this is exactly. I'm like, you're telling me it's not like this. And then the one time like I said, I don't necessarily believe in signs, but I think someone's telling me something. Here,
that is actually interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was just. She's like, I didn't know he was going to be here. Why didn't you come? I'm like, it's okay, Mom. But I'm out. I'm like, I'm not, So that, I mean, that was years ago, and I've gone a couple of times for other events, but it's
right.
One of those things.
Yeah. Now going back to the very beginning, we're major gear shift here. Sure. You mentioned you've gone off on some of the Marvel movies.
Yes.
In recent, what are some of the ones that have sparked your ire?
Well, in them. There's actually mostly three of them in particular. Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Cap is an asshole. The entire movie in Civil War, he talks about people taking responsibility, and they need to take responsibility for their actions, while simply the entire movie never taking any responsibility for any of his actions, or making Bucky stand
Or
up.
insisting that, yeah.
Yeah, it's all everyone else, but everyone else has to take responsibility for their actions. But Cap, like with the bomb, he let Scarlet Witch take the blame for it. He's like, "This is on me." Like, yeah, I don't see you out there at a press conference. Scarlet or Black Widow was out there at the press conference. He's always saying, this is on me. Yet everyone else is taking the blame. I'm like, Cap is an asshole in that movie. When they're sitting in the car, when Peggy Carter's niece gives them the stuff, and then they end up kissing, and she's like, he tried to kill me. Yeah, sorry about that. Oh, it's okay. You're dreamy. It's like, he literally just tried to kill you 5 minutes ago. How are you like, no, this is fine, because Cap says he's okay. That one bugs me. Black Panther, I didn't think it was as great as everyone makes it out to be. The CGI in that final battle.
Yeah, that was.
If that was any other movie, people would be ripping that. That was literally like 90s CG. Like, I'm like, how are people not? And everyone act like this was like some groundbreaking. I'm like
it's a magnum opus or something. It's like,
yeah,
no.
I'm like, no. Let's be honest. It's a guy who knocked up a girl and left the kids in the project. How is this some groundbreaking thing? It's not. And then what people really don't want to talk about with that one, it's like, you do realize that Wakanda's illegal immigration policy is you have to fight to the death? Like, if they catch you breaking in through their borders, you have to fight someone and one of you dies. That's it. That's your option. Like, there's no
appeals court. There's no asylum.
Everyone, that it got propped up and made money because of a black superhero. It's like
the first black superhero not named Blade or Spawn.
He's really not the first one, and it's like, yeah, it's like, but like, this is not some groundbreaking storyline. And then Captain Marvel was not as much about the movie, because I went to see the movie.
Yep.
It was fine.
The movie is okay.
It's okay.
It has a movie. It's a milquetoast kind of a movie.
Everyone's like, it was propped up ahead of time like it was this major feminist thing and it was going to be women power.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I'm like, if you want to look at it objectively, I'm like, every scene, I'm like, she is failing at everything she does. She crashes the plane. When she gets dust, she gets dust off. They don't show her hitting a home run. When she got her powers on accident because she was trying to blow up the engine, I'm like, she didn't even get her powers because she was some badass person. She got her powers like she was assuming she was going to die. When she's fighting the big bad, it's like, okay, you have a chance to prove I'm a strong woman. No, she just uses her powers. It's like, so you prove nothing. Like, nothing at all.
What I didn't get at the end of that one was, okay, she finally gets her powers unleashed and everything. Okay, great. So she just goes in, effortlessly lays waste to an entire Kree fleet, like, blows away like a dozen ships. And then she just stands there, like, pulsing in front of the last couple. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why did you stop there? Exactly.
I tell you, and how I knew and honestly, it had more, again, I went in wanting to like it. I went in to see what the end credit scene was. It was very disappointing. It was irrelevant.
Very disappointing.
And it was actually funny because I was more probably anti-Brie Larson just for how she's treated.
She was so obnoxious. Yeah.
Leading up to that. how I knew I my mindset about the character in the movie was correct was in Endgame. Or I'm sorry, not Endgame. Yeah, Endgame.
And yeah.
When she finally decides to show up at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I had a redeeming moment for her. Her interaction with Peter Parker, I'm like, give me more of that. I'm like, where she's like, hi, Peter Parker. Like, I'm like, there's charm. She can be charming. She can have a personality. I'm like, that was great. I took my niece to see it. She and I go to all the major Marvel movies. And when we walked out of there, she's like, I can't stand that Captain Marvel woman. She's like,
my kids don't like her either.
She's like, she is so arrogant. She's so this. She's like, it was a good thing she was nice to Peter Parker. And I'm like thinking, okay, I'm not wrong.
No,
no. And it's just so. I mean, so I guess my problem with Captain Marvel was again, the movie was. I didn't have necessarily a problem. The movie was fine. I was fine. Have I watched it again? No, because there's nothing. It's literally paint by numbers.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing about it, but it was propped up to be this feminist empower. I'm like, okay, first of all, she's not the first. Okay, she's not even the most. The most powerful one. I'm sorry, Scarlet Witch will kick her ass. All right, let's be honest. Scarlet Witch was kicking Thanos' ass until he decided to rain fire on the entire battlefield.
Everybody.
Not to mention, in the previous Avengers, Infinity War, Scarlet Witch is holding Thanos who has 5 stones back with one hand, destroying the other stone with the other hand while having a mental breakdown. Okay, I'm sorry. That is a powerful woman. All right?
Yes.
She is by far the most powerful.
And she's not ridiculously arrogant about it.
No, she's not.
And they've written her in such a way that she can be caught off guard.
Yes, and that's most of the time where things happen with her when she gets caught off guard.
Yeah, that whole fight at the beginning of Infinity War, it's like, you know what? She's concerned about Vision. She's getting caught off guard. If she had brought her A game, she could have taken both members of the Black Order without any trouble.
Even in Civil War, every other scene she's saving another one of her team members, like every time. And then what happens? She ends up in a straitjacket in the raft. I'm like, she is by far the most powerful.
Yep.
Black Widow has.
But they write her realistically so that she actually has weaknesses, whereas Captain Marvel, they make her out to be so powerful, so devoid of weaknesses that they wrote themselves into a corner with her, which is why she was gone for 90% of Endgame.
Right. And honestly, to me, her power is she puts like a thing around her and just flies through ships. Like that's her power. Like she's not really doing anything. Thanos punches her and she just stands or headbutts her.
I hated that. That was one of my least favorite scenes actually in all of the Marvel movies, because it's just like, really, this guy, even without the stones, was tossing around Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America all at once, and he flat out monster headbutts. Oh yeah, and he could take down the Hulk in hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
And he headbutts Captain Marvel, and she doesn't even blink.
Yeah, no.
Give me a break. That's
the only other thing I think I had a little problem with Endgame was the complete just pandering with she's not alone, and miraculously in this giant battlefield.
It just all happened to be fighting right next to each other at that moment in time.
All the women happened to be right there. I'm like, okay, Peter Parker was right there a second ago. I'm pretty sure there's probably a half a dozen other people there, but nope, we got. It's just like, come on, come on.
The biggest issue too with Brie Larson is that she is. She is a PR nightmare, because not only was she basically alienating a huge fan base for Marvel movies, but I don't know if you guys saw or heard about this. in an interview on a late night show, she straight up admitted that her and Samuel L. Jackson have a code for talking about people on movies they don't like, and she straight up admitted she doesn't like some of the people she's worked on Marvel and other movies.
That doesn't surprise me.
And I'm just like, okay, that's something you talk about in private with your friends. You don't openly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. And Jeremy Renner's going, I knew they were talking about me.
Yeah.
You don't, one, admit that on a late night talk show. Two, you don't admit that you and Samuel L. Jackson have a code for talking about those people and reveal that code for talking about them. It's like,
the only other thing I found funny, it wasn't a complaint on my side, is that there were people that were like with the Endgame, like, why wasn't Brie Larson in the movie more? Look how much money her movie made. It's like, okay, do you understand how production works? Her movie came out in January. The Endgame movie was already done and ready to be finished. Yep. They're not going to reshoot everything just because her movie made a bunch of money and just throw it. And then people were complaining, no woman got this. People went in, I'm like, and went in time, the amount of time each person spoke. It's like Cap and Iron Man and Thor got the most speaking time. Yeah. They've been around since the beginning. Yeah. If not for Iron Man, none of this shit happens. Okay? Yeah, they should have the most dialogue.
Mm-hmm. What do you want?
Well, it goes back again to rewind back. People got to complain. They have to bitch about something. It's like,
oh yeah,
come on. I'm like,
whatever they do with Black Widow, they complain about it.
Oh yeah. It'll be that someone has too much time or whatever. So yeah. So those are my complaints. Honestly, of those, the Civil War one, as much as I enjoyed the movie, that one bugs me the most. Just because, Tony's made out to be the villain, but to me, and I took two of my nieces to see that one, and they both went in Team Cap. When they came out, my one niece who hadn't really seen much, she's like, Captain America's a whiny bitch. I'm like, okay. I'm like, and both of my nieces came out and they're like, yeah, we're not Team Cap. Yeah. I'm like, I'm Team Scarlet Witch, but it's just whenever I see, young people, who are like, yeah. And then I talk to other people, like when I go out to dinner and I'm sitting at the bar at Texas Roadhouse and I'm like, oh no, man, that I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy.
Yeah. The thing about that one is it's ridiculous that he does go all in on, no, you can't take in Bucky. Like, why? Okay, granted, he was brainwashed and everything, that's fine and dandy. So let's take him in and fix him.
Yeah. And you're going to the final battle. You're going to the final battle, and you literally choose to go off with objectively the second least powerful person you could take after War Machine, Vision. Not Vision. Vision was on Iron Man. Scarlet Witch. The only one I would argue would be worse would be Hawkeye. Or not Hawkeye. Falcon. I'm like, why would you take him, who, like you already said, was proven earlier in the movie, he can have his brain taken over very easily.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to cut you two off, but our usual hour just flew by.
Oh yes, it did. Yep. We are a little bit over our time, are we not?
Oh yeah. Look at that. Yeah.
It completely flew by because when we first started, when I last looked at the clock, it was like, oh, it's 9:29. Okay, we got a good rhythm going. And then the next time I look at the clock, it's like 9:59. It's like, oh, wow.
Told you I can talk. And
the gift of gab is a wonderful gift.
Yeah, well, and and like you said, we're having a great good conversation, jumping all over the place. Sometimes my brain's like the Wheel of Fortune, just stops on something, and I got to talk about it. or the wheel spins again and I forgot. You know,
We know that feeling.
it's like I walk into one room and I literally have sometimes to go back to where I was. I'm like, okay, why did I go in there? I need to retrace what did I see over there that made me want to go in that room.
We're fans of tangents around here. But on that note, as Crystal points out, we are over our time. So Stan, thank you for coming on.
Thank
and
you for having me.
Having a sit down with us.
Absolutely.
And
my pleasure.
We'll just have, and I unplugged my headphones, so I won't be able to hear you guys here. Hold on a second. This happens like every other episode.
You know, you could have said that when he had his headset plugged in. You had to wait till that exact moment to talk like that.
If it's something you should say to my face, it had to be horrible.
Well, it's her. You know, it really shouldn't surprise you at all.
Now that you mention it, it doesn't. But we'll have to have Stan on again to talk about whatever it is that happens to come up over the course of conversation, because these nice and relatively distinct topic-free episodes are a good time. You got to do that from time to time just to decompress a little bit. Absolutely. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and you can find Stan at, what's your Twitter handle there, Stan?
Konoruck, Konoruck, and my link to my YouTube's there. I am actually planning, next week I'm going to have Crystal, you probably know her, Lily. She's been on my channel a couple of times. She's also someone I became friends with through Matt. So I'm planning on having her on, and I'm also going to be I'm working on having an interview with Cat the Cat, if you know her from Twitter.
Oh yeah,
Shallot. Okay, yeah. She's over in England, so she and I are trying to put something together as well. So
nice.
There's a couple I got coming up.
Nice. Have fun making those time zones work.
Absolutely,
we've had one or two people from that side of the pond on, and it plays a little massaging, but you get there.
Yeah, exactly.
But all right, well, hey, until next time, everybody, thank you for tuning in, and keep fighting the good fight. And I'm going to hit stop recording.